right, yeah, red light's on. We were rolling. Hey, welcome back. All right, since we got the Mega Moto up in a roller, now we need to get on to the power plant. So I'm going to swing you around and tell you a little bit about what kind of engine we're going to put in this thing. And then I'm going to walk through because, you know me, I can't leave nothing alone. I got to take everything apart. And there's nothing funner than taking a brand new engine apart, my opinion, anyway. So spin you around. We'll take a look at what we got and a little bit of what we're going to do. And we're going to get into it and see how much we can get done today. Stay tuned. All right, folks. Here's what we're going to stick in the Mega Moto 80 bike. This is going to be my new flat track bike. Got a race coming up. Trying to get this thing done, so I need to get started on what I'm going to do to the engine. Now, this is a 225 race engine. You don't want to buy this engine if you're going to stick it on your grandson's go-kart mini bike. This is for more of an experienced rider. This thing is a powerhouse. I have rode one of these bikes with basically a small tune on the carburetor, a header pipe, out of the box stock, and it is this is not no Predator motor by any means, my opinion. So while you're gazing at that, I got a little let's see, let me cover some of this up here. You don't need to see all that, but got a list of what this is, so you can go on the website and like I said, I printed this off, but basically this is a 72 millimeter bore. That crank is 55 millimeter. This comes with a 265 Tillotson racing cam with a bunch of cool little comments on it. You can read for it. It's got a forged rod with bearings, forged light racing piston, Tillotson racing head, large ports. Let's see, you got 27 millimeter intake, 25 exhaust, 26-pound springs with heavy-duty retainers and automotive style keepers. Let's see what else you get. 22 millimeter aftermarket Mikuni carburetor. It says you may need to be jetted some. Obviously, of course, no. Depending on what your application, what kind of air cleaner, header pipe, all that good stuff. Tillotson racing coil, ARC billet flywheel, and obviously no governors. Yes, they do strongly suggest premium oil like a T4, Amsoil T4 racing oil or Tillotson oil, which we have here. Very good stuff. So, like I said, you can go on their website and gives you all of the breakdown and gives you a little graph chart. Let's see, trying to read through the camera and hold it up here. So it looks around like almost 18 horsepower. It's a little over $6,000, somewhere in there. If I'm reading that right, I think I am. So, like I said, all that stuff is printed on their website. Go check it out. So, yes, like I said, can't leave anything alone. So what we're going to do with this thing, it does come with the forged rod and bearings, but did a little research, had to do the old call Paul. He helped me out on a few things, told him what I was going to do, and he made a few suggestions. And of course, I love taking brand new motors apart. So what we're going to do with this thing is we are going to put the billet ARC flywheel. I'm sorry, the billet A. I can't talk, folks. We're going to put the shiny side cover thingy on it. Yeah, that goes on the PTO side. Yes, we're going to put the dual bearing side cover on it. And like I said, I will leave you a description for all the parts that we're going to use. So we got the side cover, and we are going to go ahead and upgrade the rod. So we're going to put the Go Power Sports billet rod in it, and I'm going to do a little cam change. Yeah, that's the cam we're going to use. And I figured while I got it off, I looked around and actually had a set of studs. For Tillotson motors, they take a little bit longer stud than like a Predator or any other motor. So if you order you some, I'll leave you the part number for these. So, and you know, I can't tell you what cam I'm going to stick in it, but I'm on. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to get this thing over here on the table, and I'll get it ripped apart. I'm not going to show you every single thing. I don't want to make a long, boring video, but we are going to break out the torque wrench, and we are going to get this thing tore apart. I'll get the head pulled off, and we'll get down to it, get the cam that I want to use in it, and we'll put the rod and the side cover on it. So you've never done any of this stuff before. Maybe you have. Maybe you might learn a tip. So we're going to get into it and get this thing ripped apart. All right, as you can see, Already got the head and all that stuff off. Got all my bolts over here. As you can spin this thing around, show you what it looks like. Like I said, it already comes with the billet flywheel already on it, 72 millimeter. And a Tilley block, man, is just it's well built. It's just all the webbing on the back, how they reinforce the block up on the top of the cylinder, jug, whatever you'd like to call it, cylinder, I guess is what you'd say, even down to the fan housing. I pulled this thing off, and I bet this thing weighs like, I don't know, like good 4 pounds. I mean, this is I was making something, so I took an old fan shroud that was bent up, but this is real flimsy. This is off of, I don't know, some kind of whatever I had laying around, a 196 or something. But this thing is like extremely thick. I mean, it's heavy. It's solid. I was like, you could probably drive over this thing with a truck. But anyway, enough rambling about that. I was just going to kind of show you the difference from a Tilley built engine versus Predator. You know, some people don't look at stuff like that, but this is real flimsy, and this thing is trash, built like a tank. All right, so I got this over here. What is that? Huh, that come off of something I was probably looking for like a month ago. All right, so we're going to pull the side cover off, get in here, get the piston out, and we're going to replace the rod and see if we can't get the bottom end of this thing. We ain't getting it out with this. That's for sure. Where's the tin? Found it. Good God almighty. Let's go ahead and get all these loose. Man. I thought maybe that battery was just dead. Of course, it might be. I wonder if they put Loctite on these. There's a little red. Look like they might have put Loctite on them. Not for sure. But they do have a little blue mark on everything where I guess they, good Lord. They went and, I guess, checked it when they were torquing everything. They put a little blue mark on each head bolt. You don't see that stuff on very many motors at all. I think I got these loose. I like to crack them all loose and kind of get that over here. 2, 3, 4, 5. I got all of them. All right, let's put these in the tray. See if we can ease this off. I'm not too worried about the gasket because we're going to change the side cover. All right. Oh, the cam came out in the cover. So this is a Tillotson racing cam. It's a 265. Let's see. It does have Tillotson stamped in it. And it's got some more numbers. Yeah. 138222012. So this is their does have decompression valve on it. So I'm going to make sure and mark this cam because it's going to get repurposed for sure. We're going to see if this one will actually, I'll have to mic it or do some research and see if this cam will fit a regular 212. And if so, this is going to go into a 212 motor. Look, gasket come off nice. We're just going to leave that alone since we're not going to use it. Even the crank. Let me see. Let me spin this around a little bit. I can get y'all, see if I can get in here. Let's see if we can spin it down here. Yeah. Let's swing this camera around, wipe my hands off. See if y'all can get y'all an up-close view what it says down inside there. Lighting's crappy. But the actual crank stamp right here at the top on the balancer part, it's got Tillotson on it. I don't know if you can really see down inside there. This is supposed to be a forged rod with bearings. So it is marked Tillotson. That's kind of cool. Even on the back side of the block down there is really reinforced. Obviously, there's no governor. I do see that there is a, you can look back inside there, there is a where your governor, the little governor gear, I always take those off anyway. That rides into the governor spool up there. Does have the governor gear in the back. So we'll get the rest of this thing ripped apart. Sit you back over here. Give me a paper towel. These look like a regular 10 millimeter. Let's go ahead and get the tappets or lifters out of the way so that we don't drop them in the floor. See, that one went in the back. We'll put that back in the same hole it came out of. Not that it really matters, but that's what we're going to do. This is a 10 millimeter. Loosen this top one. Man, these things are tight. They Loctited everything. The side cover bolts look like they were Loctited. The head bolts were extremely tight. They look like I don't know if they have Loctite on them or not, but how about I go grab a different tin that's got a gear on the end of it? Where's the tin? Right here below the 11. Smart aleck. All right. Y'all bored yet? It's supposed to be an entertaining video. Might learn something. As my dad would say, if he wasn't yelling at me for holding the flashlight where I was supposed to be holding it, staring in la la land, wonder when I was going to get done working on something he had me working on. I know a lot of y'all can testify to that, right? Y'all get yelled at for not holding the flashlight in the right spot. Yep. Grab me another paper towel. All right. Pull that bolt out, leave it right there. Man, them things are tight. I'm working as fast as my old fingers will let me. There we go. Nope. Almost. Yep. There it is. Oh, I got it, I think. Man, they Loctited the snot out of these things. Yeah, that looks like there's Loctite on there to me. Smells kind of good, though. Smells like grape. I don't know. All right, there's the top one. Let's get the rod out. Look at that. It does have bearings in it, just like an ARC rod, or a billet rod. All right. See if we can get the old piston out. Without tearing anything up. There we go. All right, before I get crazy, we're going to put this rod cap right back on here the way it goes. Look at that. Pops in. That was the bottom bolt. This is the top bolt. Yeah, they put some kind of, look like they put thread locker on there. Loctite. And they did go along and mark the bolt in the head. But anyway, this is the lightweight piston if you ain't ever seen one. And that's a real little bitty old wrist pin that's in there. Man. Short skirt. Oh, guess I didn't put that all the way in there. I didn't want to thread in very good. It is now, by golly. Man. So make sure anytime you do one, and of course this is the forged rod, but it has a big wide dipper on it. But the ARC will actually have a scooper to actually oil the bearing. But it does say Tillotson on it. This is nice. So we're going to look see if we can repurpose these. I'm not sure if this rod will fit a 212. I'm going to say it's probably not, since this is all their racing stuff. Inside the piston it says Tillotson. So, all right, that's enough rambling about that. We're going to lay that right there nice and clean. Everything's good. I'm not sure if I'm going to take that gear off or not, because that means I'd have to take the flywheel off, which really ain't no big deal. Normally I do. Normally I don't. I think we might just leave it alone. If they wanted it off, they'd have taken it off. Normally I do. So, all right. I'm going to make sure. I see I got some stuff in here I might got left in there. I'm going to get this clean. We're going to get the rod over here. Take a look at the rod. Get the rod on the piston. And get the billet rod in here. All right, got my rod here. Like I said, I will leave you a description for all the parts that I am using. So if you want to do the same thing I'm doing here, just scroll down below. click on the link and it'll take you right to it. But this is the GPS billet rod, Tillotson engine, part number 3465. And you get your bearings. We're going to keep this box because we're going to put other rod and stuff back in it and mark it. Instructions, very crucial. And yes, we are going to torque stuff to spec. So we're going to leave that right there. Let's open it up. Look how shiny, man. Pretty. All right. We're just going to work on it right here. Take the bearings out of the package. We're going to keep this in the box so we have a part number for your bearings. Take the rubber band off. Keep that over there. Lay them right there. So now, since we got this opened up, and that is pretty, we're going to go ahead and take the wrist pin and everything off. Always make sure if you have an arrow in your piston, your arrow always faces down. You don't want that arrow facing up. So, take a pair of pliers here. Get my glasses so I don't, hope this thing don't fly across the shop. I'm going to ease the pin out. Hold my fingers over it. There we go. Don't fly. All we really do is take one off, and you can come from the back side and push it out. Or you can grab it. Maybe you need to push it out a little bit more. There we go. And keep that arrow facing down. Man, that's a nice rod. Look at that. Got a number stamped on the back. Does have the bearings in it. So we're going to put all that back in that box. Get a paper towel here. And where's my oil at? Right here. I'm just going to dab a little bit back on this wrist pin. Make sure it fits through here good. Look at that, no problems. So now we're just going to put it right back like it came. Just like so. Ease it in there. Just push that down. Looks good. Now, here comes the fun part. I usually take a pair of needle nose and grab that little clip, just like so. And I try and start this outside edge that's at the top and just kind of roll the rest of it in slowly and keep my fingers over it. You don't want to twist this wrist pin or this keeper up because then you'll have problems with it might flying out. So just take your time, grab it, boom. You should hear a little click, just like so. And I'll roll it around. I don't know if that'll show up on camera, but I'll roll it around so the open part of the little clip, your retainer, is facing away from this little notch right there. Always face it the opposite direction. Just the way I've always done it. Make sure it fits in its little groove. We're all good. All right. I'm going to go get the ring compressor, get the piston in it, and, guess we go ahead and put the bearings in it. Now, this is a time where you would want to use plastic gauge. Plastic gauge, take your crank out, do the plastic gauge thing, make sure and spec. But the stuff that I've done from GPS with their rods and everything else, I've never heard of one or never seen one that was out of spec. But this is where you'd probably want to do that. And I might have to go stick this in the vise to break these loose because they're probably going to be tight. And they are. All right. Let me go grab my pads, clamp this in the vise, get these broke loose, and we'll come back and get the bearings in it and get it installed, get it torqued down. All right. Sorry about that, folks. Looked over and I heard a beep. Wasn't paying no attention. Battery went dead. But no need. We got a new one. Okay. So where I left off at, I went ahead and got the top bearing in the rod. Got the piston in. So now we're back to finishing up the assembly. I want to make sure all this stuff is good and clean. That was laying here, didn't pick up no trash or anything off the workbench, which I try to keep everything nice and clean here. I'm going to wipe this out, make sure it's good and clean. All righty. Then right here on the top of the bearing, I don't know if it'll show up, but right on top of the bearing, one end will have a little tang or a little tab sticking off of it. The other one is plain. You want to match that little tab that's on the corner of the bearing right there into relation to the little notch that's cut out either in the rod or the rod cap. This is going to be the same. So what I'm going to do is just stick that edge in there. Just roll it down. If you got to force these, get that bolt out of the way. If you got to force it, then something's not right. Just like so. Make sure both ends of the bearing are flush with the cap. It looks like it's in there all the way. Then you can also look at the hole in the inside, make sure it's good and lined up, which this one looks good. Make sure it's in there all the way. Wipe it out one more time. Then I use, a lot of people use Assembly lube. You can use your own preference. I've always used 105. I don't get crazy with it. I just smear a little bit right in there. Don't want to try and get a bunch in that oil hole like I just did, but just a little light smear. And another thing, if you ever take your rod bolts, these washers go a certain way. They're got a little cup in them. So you make sure that when you pull these apart, make sure that washer stays on there where it's supposed to be. Just like so. So now what we're going to do is get this thing down inside here. Get these bolts started. If I can get my fingers in there. There we go. Make sure they're started so we don't cross thread nothing. And this is a 12-point 1/4 inch socket that you're going to need to install this. I think all the rods that I've put in motors all have the same 12-point. So you'll need to get you a 12-point socket. I'm trying to keep my arm out of the way so y'all can see what I'm doing if you haven't done it before. I'm going to run these down. Just get it snugged up to that washer seats out on the cap. Then I'll go to the top one. That's just snug. And let's see if I have to roll it just a little bit back. But I just grab the flywheel and turn it. Wouldn't it be so easy? There we go. Get this one run down just to the bolt gets snug on the cap. And we'll get the torque wrench out. Man, how many threads they put on this bolt. You're not supposed to get in a hurry anyway. You get in a hurry, then you got problems. All right, that's snug right there. We'll take that socket off, get on the torque wrench. Now, this is where you do want to go back and go over the instructions. Depending on if you're using a lube on it, it tells you what you want to torque everything down to. I'm going to give you kind of just the gist of it. Basically, you want to snug them down to the approximately 60 inch-pounds, and then you want to alternate from top bolt to bottom bolt in 20-pound increments till you reach 150 inch-pounds. Then you want to back it down to 100. Excuse me. Then you want to retorque it again, 20 inch-pound increments from bolt to bolt, staggering, going back and forth. This is what it's basically saying. To reach 150, or if you're using a moly lube, you want to go to 170 inch-pounds, or if you're using oil. So I did put a dab of oil on each bolt, just barely smeared some on each bolt. That's all I put in it. I always run them down to 170. So we're going to have this thing set at about 50. That was 50 inch-pounds. Now, the instruction says to do it one way. Does Rick always do it the way the instructions say? Not necessarily. We go. We'll do the top one. Man, they make these numbers small on here. There. Top one. And see. One more time. Right here. I can see the deal. Make sure she locks. Top bolt. And this one this should be 100. Then it says you back them down. So we're going to back it off. Now this is probably not the correct way, but this is the way I've always done it, and I've never lost a rod yet. So, and I go, like I said, to 170. I'm going to put this at, I'm going to go 120. Alternate from the bottom to the top. And let's see where we're at. And we'll go to one more time. There. Make sure that socket's on all the way. Top one. All right, we're gonna, let's see, final. That should be 170. Is that right? Let me see. Hope I turned it the right way. 170, she's locked. We're gonna double check them. 170, go to the top one. Get on there. Bottom one more time. Top one more time. All right. Zero back out my wrench right quick so I don't forget. All right. Put that back in the case. All right, everything looks good. Now I want to spin this motor over. Make sure we don't have any clearance issues with anything. That's like butter. Everything looks good. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to lube the tappets back up, go grab my cam, and we'll get the cam in it. Make sure we have no clearance issues on the cam that I'm going to use. All right. Got my cam here that we're using. Let me get this out of the way. We'll put that over there. Let's see. We need the back tappet. If I put a little lube on these, kind of helps hold them into place while I'm putting the cam in it. I can see the hole. Yep. And I'll put just a dab on the face of it. Same thing with this one. Make sure I don't get nothing on it. Just a little dab on the face. Now we're on break-in oil in it anyway. Go through a couple heat cycles. That way it'll lube everything up. Then I can get all this assembly lube out. I'm going to go on this back journal where the cam is in the back of the block. Put a little in there. Then I'm going to take my cam and do the same thing. Put a little bit on each lobe. Just so you don't have metal to metal when you're first cranking it up. And also, I always pull the plug out of one and spin it over several good times before I ever crank it up. That way it kind of splatters oil in it. All right, let me get a paper towel somewhere. Here we go. All right. Let me find my mark. On these, there'll be a little dot. On this Tillotson actually has a dot with a little line on the gear. So I'm going to find that into relation to the dot on the cam. Trying to keep my fingers out of the way. See what's going on. We need to roll this motor down a little bit. Right there. Looks good. Now what I want to do is I'm going to shine a light down inside here. Roll the motor over real slow. And check for clearance. Make sure no lobes are hitting nothing. It looks like they're clearing. And I do have a side cover thing that I cut and I bolt up here that actually holds the cam in place. But I think everything's going to be just fine. Looks good. I'm going to flip this motor up on the jug. That way I can look down inside here. Make sure I have no problems with the lobes hitting the block. Everything looks good. My rod clears the cam. Yeah, I think everything's going to be just dandy. Let's roll it all the way through. Yeah, double check, make sure we have no lobes hitting the edge of the connecting rod. All right, I think we're going business. It's awful tight in there, but all right, everything looks pretty. All right, good deal. All right, no clearancing. Everything's good to go. All right. Okay, now I'm gonna get the billet side cover out. We're gonna get that installed, get this thing buttoned up. All right, got the side cover here that I'm gonna use. It is a 60-57. So, pull it out of the box. Shiny. All right, let's see what all we got in this thing. Gasket. Does come with the gasket. I'm going to leave the gasket in the box because we're not going to use the gasket. I'm going to sit that right over there. Pull the cover out. Lay it right here back on this plastic bag. They already got the bearings installed. The bushing for your cam is already installed. And in the bag of goodies you got here is going to be your oil seal. Get all these parts. You got an oil seal. Put that right there. Then you also have shims. You got some thick ones. Let's see how many we got in here total. Let's sit that down. You got like 4 shims total. Now, what you're going to need to do with these, you're going to make sure you at least one shim on it. So therefore, you got to make sure and set your tolerances for your end play on your cranks. You're going to put these up here, keep them clean. And I'm going to go ahead and let this lay out a little bit. This is the seal that I'm going to use, which is going to go right along this inside edge right here. We'll get that rolled in here. Then I'll get the torque specs out. You got dowel pins for depending on what your application is. You might be able to use the same ones that are in it. I normally pull those out because these are a hollow dowel pin, and the ones they give you in the kit are a solid dowel pin. In other words, it doesn't have a hole in it like the factory ones. So we're going to lay those 4 pins right there. Open this bag up. Put that bag right there. In the top of your, put this down. And the top of your side cover is actually 2 vent ports. So if you're going to use the 2 vent ports, you know, you put your barbs in there to vent your crankcase to your catch can, valve cover, whatever. And if you're not using those, they actually send you 2 little plugs to plug off your vent caps. So we're going to set these aside because we are going to vent this block. Got your 2 nice billet ARC filler caps with the O-rings already installed on them. Set them right there. You do have another drain plug that's going to go on the bottom of your side cover, just like so. So you want to make sure, if you're not using this for an oil drain, make sure you want to put some Teflon tape or some type of sealer on here, which we are. And we're going to get this sealed up. So we're going to put that over there. Then you get your Allen head bolts to hold your side cover on. And then also you have 2 small Allen bolts. And these bolts are if you need to pull the side cover back off and it's tight from being sealed on the engine. There's actually ports where you actually run these through. Little threaded holes right here. And where will the other one be? They put like 3 different locations. So these will actually, you will thread these in. These will push against the backside of the dowel pin, which would be in your motor, like so. It bolt pushes in against those, which actually pushes the engine or pushes the side cover off your engine, if that makes sense. So put all this stuff over here. So that's what these little small Allen bolts are actually forced to remove the cover. So you might want to keep those handy somewhere along with the shims. You're not going to use all the shims. I keep all that. I'm going to put all that back in a bag. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and get the seal. Go get my seal installer. We'll get the seal installed. I'm going to find the torque specs so we know exactly what to torque this to. And I can show you what I'm going to use to make sure and check the in play on your crank. All right, so went in and got my seal installer, got the seal installed. Now we want that seal just right, the edge of that seal flush with the outside of the case. And if you don't have a seal installer, you know, a nice big socket, something flat so you're not damaging the seal. That way you don't have an oil leak. And also got the bottom drain, which we're not going to be using. So I got the plug that they supplied in there. So next we're going to do is flip this over. We're going to grab us a clean paper towel or this cloth right here. I want to make sure I don't have anything down inside this little grooved edge that's machined in here for your O-ring seal. Now you can use the paper one, and it says in the instructions, let me sit this somewhere. How about we sit that right there? It does say in the instructions that you'll actually get with it to go over everything, tell you how to properly install it. They want a minimum of 10 to 15 thousandths in play. So you can either, sometimes I've set these, clamped them to my welding table so the engine doesn't move. I have a magnetic dial indicator that I can either clamp to the motor or magnetic to the table. And after you get the side cover down, basically what they want you to do is either put the O-ring on, and you do have to use at least one of the shims that they provide you, either a thick one, thin one. We're going to put the gasket in it, bolt, get it on there. I usually just put 2 bolts in it, one staggered after I got the pins, put 2 bolts in it, torque it down to 180, I think it was. Yes, I'm sorry, 185 or to 200 inch-pounds. And then you want to check your in play. And then if you need to take the engine back off and supply more shims or less shims, that's what we're going to do. So what we're going to do now is make sure I got my hands clean. We're going to take the O-ring seal that they provide. I usually start at the very top and just lay this in here real easy. You don't want to stretch it. And I just go along. It's kind of time consuming, but you want to make sure and take your time. That way you get it in properly and you don't have an oil leak down the road. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to walk this seal around, get it in there like so. You don't have to beat it in with the hammer. Of course, this one don't want to stay because it's freezing cold. There we go. That pushed in there just like so. All right, so I'm gonna get the seal installed, and I'll show you what we do when we get this thing put on the motor. I'm gonna get this wrapped up. All right, so when you get it all laid in there, it's kind of time consuming, but you want to make sure and take your time pushing this down. What I found handy, works to the end of this ratchet, something soft, so you're not cutting the gasket or any seal, and just work it all the way around. And they're going to give you a bunch left over. As you can see, there's a bunch right here. So what I do is I get it laid all the way up there. Boss just showed up. We're in trouble. Hi, honey. So I get it right here to this top edge, and you can see they left probably about what? They gave you extra 2 or 3 inches. So you can get this. I'm going to get it all the way pushed up right where they barely meet. Nice and easy. Then we're going to take us a razor blade. And I'm going to eyeball it. You know, it's kind of hard to do when you're blind in one eye and can't see out the other. That looks about good right about here. Yeah, that looks good. Put a little mark on it. Get a nice smooth cut. And it should match up just fine. Look at that. Like socks on a banty rooster. Now I do put this right here at the top. So if you do have a little gap, which I'm going to put just a dab of sealer right there. It's all you need. You don't put anything else, but you want to have this at top. That way, if you do have a leak, it's up here and you don't have it leaking out the bottom where you can't see it if you got it on a motor or you got a torque converter on the side. So I'm going to put a little dab right there. We'll let that sit for a second. And then we're going to put it on the motor after I see what's up with the wife because she just got home. We'll be right back after this brief message. Now I'm in the camera. All right, so I finally got everything done. I pulled that side cover back off, went and added one more of the thin shims to it, and I feel very comfortable with that. Like I said, this is where you would want to come into play, get a dial indicator, all that stuff. You actually set it up what the instructions say so everything goes good. But I'm going to run all the rest of the bolts in. Just snug them up. Kind of speed up the process a little bit. Then we'll torque it down. Let me start these in here by hand. I should know better. All right, get these run down. Take that, get that out of the way. Now these two are the ones I torqued down to 185. Let's see, it says 185 to 200. Let's go all the way. We want this thing to stay together. All right, we're going to do these at 200 inch-pounds. And I just kind of stagger them. And come back over here, catch this top one. And y'all guys didn't think I torqued anything down. It's 200. And for giggles, we're going to go around and catch every one of them one more time. All right. Zero this wrench back out. We'll go ahead and get the filler caps in it. The oil fill caps. All right, that's zeroed back out. Since it comes with these nice, beautiful caps. Get these in here and I'll get this bagged up till I get back on the next part of just putting everything back together. I still got to put the vents in it. But for now, we're just going to thread them in here. Just so they don't get lost and we don't get nothing in the motor. But I am going to bag it all up. So we'll get the rest of the stuff picked up. Man, that made it look a million times better with that shiny side cover on it. And the side cover is also, they already have your threads in it. So if you want to run the clutch cover or if you're running torque converter, all that will bolt right to the side of here. So make sure you keep your little Allen bolts if you ever got to pull the cover back off. This one's pretty easy. I just kind of tapped it a little bit with the rubber mallet, worked it right back off. But you want to keep these handy. That way, if you do ever got to go back later, you can just thread them in there and it'll actually pull that cover off for you. So there we go. We're going to call that a wrap on this part. I'm going to get this thing bagged up. And that looks pretty. Almost want to run it with no fan shroud on it. But anyway, so we're going to get this thing bagged up so nothing gets in it and it stays clean until I can get back on it and finish putting the head and everything back on it. See if I want to put a clear valve cover on it or I just want to leave that one. I don't know yet. Haven't decided. So we're going to call that done for today. All right, engine's broke in. I went through, I like to do at least 4 heat cycles, 3 to 4. This one I did 4. First, an initial crank up, the very first crank up, fired up great. Second pull, I just got my tachometer put on it, set it at 2,000 RPM, and just let it sit there and get good operating temperature. I probably let it run 25 minutes the first go around, no throttle, nothing, just about 2,000, 2,100 RPM. Let it totally cool off. Did the same thing again. Come out this morning, let it crank up, and I set it about 1,500, I think, 1,500. Let it get good and hot twice this morning. So that was 4 heat runs. So got the oil drained, or I'm fixing to yank it off the stand. Taking it there while it's good and hot, get the oil drained, let all the break-in oil drain out. Then we're going to top it off with Tillotson racing oil, of course. And we've got the frame about done. So once this thing cools off, I'm going to go back and double check my valve clearance. make sure all that's good, runs great, cranks great, don't kick back. So I'm going to check it one more time before it goes on the bike, a lot easier. And we're going to get back to see if we can get this thing knocked out today. Got the motor and torque converter all bolted up. Motor's just sitting there loose. Fixing to cut some chain. That way I can come back here and get all my stuff lined up. That way I can get everything moved around where I want the motor, get the chain aligned, and I gotta go find me a skateboard wheel. I'm gonna try and use the same bracket, but put me a light up skateboard wheel in there if it works. Got some kind of gear mocked up back here on the back. We'll just kind of, for testing purposes, kind of see where I'm going to be at as far as how it handles and all that. So let's get the driver on it, get the chain on it, and we're getting real close. Then we got to get to exhaust, see if I can shoehorn some exhaust up here that I want to use. So we might have to do some pipe cutting and pie cutting to make something fit, but we'll see. All right, let's get on it. Okay, we got the motor in, got all the chain, all that good stuff lined up. Got the fuel tank mounted, got the fuel lines run, vent lines run, or some of them. I still got to vent the valve cover. Now we're up here mocking up the throttle cable and all that, but then you get that on the ground so I can get the bars tight where I want it. But that's kind of where we're at. But one thing about building mini bikes, oh man, excuse me. One thing about building bikes, whew, sure can be exhausting, man. Whew. But we're gonna get it knocked out. That's right, we're almost there. Y'all like that, didn't you? That was good, funny. Whew. Building mini bikes it's exhausting sometimes, but we're gonna knock it out. Sometimes I kill myself. All right, that's enough of break time. Let's get back to building this bike. We're on a deadline.